and welcome to the Healthy Half Hour podcast. We are your hosts, Richard and Karen Inslee.
The Healthy Half Hour podcast is your resource for all things healthy, and we will be discussing how to make nutrition, fitness and lifestyle choices work for you.
We will be sharing our own personal insights along with research gathered from working in the health and fitness industry for the past 10 years.
Our show is brought to you by the 7 Day Shred, which can be found at 7dayshred.com, and please feel free to visit our podcast website, which can be found at healthyhalfhourpodcast.com.
And now on to today's show.
So the sun's finally come out. We've been having some awesome temperatures the last couple of days, kind of 28s, and I think like it might have even hit 30, but not before we had some frost and we lost about 80 tomato plants that you'd nurtured since February in the house. Like, what did you do? Grow about 100, was it?
I put 100 out, yeah. So I spent 10 weeks nurturing them and looking after them, and then
Mother Nature decided that we needed to go to the garden centre and buy some more, and we lost some pepper plants, and it's really sad because, I mean, at least like it's not our income like it would be for a farmer, but you spend all that time and all that effort and work, and it's just like, because I had plans to make more salsa this year, even sell some of
don't
it.
give up yet.
I know,
we'll see
like,
what happens,
you know,
that's gardening for you. You never know.
Probably
we looked at the weather, and the weather said about 4 or 5 degrees, and got up in the morning and it said 1. So that was pretty much the end of that. And
so we're hoping that some of them come back, because there is a chance. I mean, like, they could bounce back, some of them, so we'll see what happens.
We're giving them a chance.
Yeah, so that was like really, really sad, but
we've replanted and we're onward and upward, and a lot of the root vegetables are coming through now, so the heat in the soil, so and things move along.
The other sad thing is we didn't get to play golf on Saturday because we got
lots of booze today.
I know,
it's like a house of horrors.
Yeah, then the reason being is we got invited to a friend's 70th birthday, and it was at 4:30 in the afternoon. Who has
70-year-old people.
70-year-old people
have supper at 4:30.
Yeah, or 4:30. So we were just clock watching all morning, thinking, we're never going to get the golf in. So yeah, that was another boo. So
all we've done is wine so far.
I know. So there's there's some exciting stuff coming up. I've got lots of exciting school board trustee stuff coming up, and yay, awards and ceremonies and things to attend, so that'll be fun. And I've been out mowing, and I've actually been out digging up lots of dandelion roots, because I've been making some dandelion root coffee. So they're free, people. Just go and dig them up. Yeah, they are. Yeah, and we've got lots of them. We've got no shortage of dandelions to dig up. So, what are we talking about today?
The subject today is how much should we be eating? We often, obviously, start with a new client, or people ask us questions. I'm not losing weight, I'm maintaining, I'm putting a bit on, how much should I eat, and blah, blah, blah. How many calories? Like there is just one formula, one calorie amount that everybody should be eating. And
1,200 calories. Apparently, the internet says the magic number is 1,200.
That's probably the truth, actually. Yeah. Actually, Abraham Lincoln said, don't believe everything you read on the internet.
Really, did he? He was a smart cookie.
He made a meme.
Yeah.
And so, we often get these questions about how much. And I mean, there's so much variability in how many calories you should be eating. And again, there's a lot of different variables in this, and we're going to discuss those later. We're going to discuss maybe a starting point, somewhere to start from, because really, if you're looking to lose weight, then you've got to look for that starting point, and your body's got to kind of get into that caloric deficit, but the correct caloric deficit for you. Well, the caloric deficit for your friend might be completely different from what yours is. And then you look at a diet book or whatever, or you go online and there's an electronic calculator online where you put your height and your current weight in, and then you put the weight you want to be in, and then it tells you how many calories to eat a day. This is all approximate. This is just a guesstimation of calculations and formulas that are put into these algorithms, into these websites, and it's just a starting point.
And there's so many variables. I mean, how active you are, whether you're male, female, how old you are, so we're going to cover all that.
So again, just the theory of it, really, there is the theory that you've got a resting energy expenditure, which is your basal metabolic rate. We've discussed basal metabolic rate before, so that is if you got out of bed in the morning and went and laid on the couch and did nothing, it's how many calories it takes to run your body.
Oh, I would love a day like that. Just one day, just doing nothing. But I'd probably get bored though.
I was going to say
I'd be fidgeting, yeah.
After about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So with that rest, that's called resting energy expenditure. Your brain is 2% of your body weight, yet uses 20% of your calories. So theoretically, if you eat 2,000 calories a day, 20% of that's 400 calories. That's what your brain's going to use to make its function. So again, probably you've done an exam or something, or you've done some test and you come out and you're really tired. That's because your brain's been using extra calories. It's like your legs get tired when you run. The more you use your brain, the more tired you're going to get, especially if you work in an office after a hard day. So again, everything has a value. Your liver, you're regulating your core temperature, all these different things have values, and they all utilize calories. The next part of the theory is the activity energy expenditure. So really how much activity you do in the day, whether you're a construction worker, whether you're an office worker, whether you're in manual labor doing something. So again, that has a factor. You add your resting energy expenditure and your activity energy expenditure, and you get your total energy expenditure.
There's a lot of expenditures.
There is.
It's a big word.
These expenditures, again, are all theory. And if you go to the website and it will ask you kind of what your energy expenditure is, are you sedentary? Do you exercise? Are you active 2 to 3 times a week, 4 to 5 times a week, every day of the week? And then you multiply the number, your resting energy expenditure by this, and theoretically you get your total energy expenditure.
And we used to teach this in our healthy eating and weight loss course. And the thing is, a lot of people over or underestimate, don't they? Just exactly how active they actually are. But then some people, when they're even when they underestimate the calculations, people go, I can't eat all that much. But it's like you say, it's a calculation and it's a starting point. So you've got some numbers to go through, haven't you?
Well, one of the most popular formulas is called the Benedict formula. I mean, this was actually done in like 1918, 1919. So 100 years ago, this formula had been kicking around. So we've been kind of umming and ahhing over this for quite some time. So they came up with this formula, and the formula is just like super complicated. So from a metric point of view, your BMR, so your basal metabolic rate for men is 66.5 plus, in brackets, 13.75 times your weight in kilograms plus 5.003 times your height in centimeters minus 6.755 times your age in years.
There's actually a test at the end of this, so I hope you're listening and writing this down.
Yes, because there is a quiz. And for women, it is, your BMR is 655.1 plus, in brackets, 9.563 times your weight in kilos plus 1.850 times your height in centimeters, 4.676 times your age in years minus that.
And this was done in 1918. Somebody came up with this all that time ago.
So and again, theoretically that's your BMR. So I actually just punched a few numbers in. So I actually did the imperial one, and I'll convert it to. So if you were 188 pounds, which is 85 kilos, you were 5'11", which is 180 centimeters tall. So if you were 5'11", 188 pounds, you would eat about 1,830 calories a day. So if you were the same height, yet 252 pounds, the calculation says you should eat 2,130 calories. So the difference between the two calculations is 300 calories. And that you may have the same muscle mass as the one person who's 188 pounds may have the same muscle mass as the person that's 252 pounds. Yet they're eating 300 extra calories, theoretically, because you're carrying the extra 60 pounds around with you, so you might need more energy. But when it comes to metabolically active tissue, which basically is your muscles, because again, that's where a lot of the mitochondria are in the body, and they're like little energy factories. You've got they're actually doing stuff. They're actually converting that calories into energy. Your fat mass is basically inert. It's not really doing a whole heap of beans apart from being carried around by the muscle. So, I mean, you can see there, just purely by being 60 pounds heavier, they're saying eat an extra 300 calories. Do you need an extra 300 calories? If you were lying on the couch, I doubt you'd need an extra 300 calories because you're not doing anything. So again, the system, the whole system's kind of flawed in ways. But like I said at the top of the show, you've got to start somewhere. So these kind of give you an idea. So with that, if you were basically a fairly active person, it says you would times that calculation by 1.76. So I mean, if you times that calculation by 1.76, so that 1,830, you'd be up at nearly like 3,000 calories. Just because, you're a slightly active person, and they class a slightly active person as running for 1 hour a day.
Every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're sitting on your butt for 23 hours, maybe at an office or driving your car or watching the TV or whatever you're doing. You go running and all of a sudden you need an extra 1,000 plus calories to run for an hour. No. Which again, the whole activity thing. And I mean, if you're a construction worker, which again, depending on what you're doing, if you're like a construction worker, it's 2.25 times that. So, I mean, all of a sudden, you're up in the 5,000 calorie range. If you're an older person and you're eating 5,000 calories and you're a construction worker, you're going to be a fat construction worker by the end of the year because you won't be able to burn off those calories. And again, what they're looking at with these calculations, again, in 1919, I guess pretty much the calories across the board were very similar. But now with the advent of all the processed foods and everything, you can eat 2,000 calories of crap, and that's way different to 2,000 calories of whole food. So again, like Karen said earlier, another variable. There's a couple of other calculations. There's the Mifflin-St. Jean equation and the Catch-McCardle formula as well. And they tried to zero it down a little bit. And again, pick your poison really if you want to do this. A lot of the times what we'll do with clients is we will just say, pick your goal weight, and your goal weight times 10 is basically what your BMR is going to be. So if you're 200 pounds and you want to be 140 pounds, then times 140 by 10, you get 1,400 calories. There's your start point. Start from that point, and theoretically weight loss is times that by 11 or 12. Weight maintenance is times that number by 15. Again, I wouldn't necessarily. I would try and then just, again, start at that 1,400 for a 140-pound person. And again, if you're male, it's different to female. If you're active, different to inactive. And to be honest, if you're going to the gym for an hour a day and you're doing one of these calculators online and you've got an office job, I'd just put sedentary down. Because really, in 1 hour, you're not doing enough movement in a gym. Even if you burn 300, 400, whatever, how many calories, it really doesn't equate to a large amount compared to what you are eating.
And when Richard just said about physically demanding jobs, but we've mentioned this before, I think on probably a couple of podcasts, that people mistake physically demanding job for exercise. So this is where some of these formulas fall flat again. Like I said, is that people overestimate how active they are. They do this calculation and then think like, oh great, like I can eat X amount of calories and I'll be good because I have a physically demanding job. And it's kind of overestimating things, isn't it? Because like physically demanding job isn't exercise. You're just like very efficient doing your physically demanding job.
Yeah, and if you keep doing the same task over and over again, like Karen says, you just get very efficient at it. We've mentioned this on the exercise podcast eons ago, that if you are running or you want to be a runner and you've not run and you go out and you run 5K and you keep running 5K 3 or 4 times a week for the next 6 months, in 6 months' time, the energy expenditure that it takes for you to run 5K will be way different to what it was on day one. because your body has now got more efficient at movement. Your body's got now more efficient at exchange of oxygen into the blood. It's got more efficient with the heart. There's so many different things that where the body gets efficient at, and the body is very, very stingy, I guess is a word, with calories. It doesn't just expend calories just because you think it's a great idea. If, again, you go back through evolution, there's a drought or there's a lack of food or something happens and, you know, the on the plains, and your body doesn't care whether you've got a six-pack and look absolutely wonderful. It cares about the survival of the fittest and survival of the species. So it gets very, very, again, stingy might be the word, or very, very tight with caloric expenditure, which, again, if you do cut your calories too low, you will end up in that. So the body will actually go into that mode, which is, again, why a lot of the times we recommend people cycle calories, just to give that kind of wink or that nod, cap tip to the body saying, yep, there's still food coming in. It's okay. You can still give up that little bit of those calories. You can still burn that bit of fat because there's still excess calories some days coming in that'll just kind of top the tanks up and then keep the body in that fat burning mode.
And one of the most successful formulas out there, regardless of whether you're veggie, FODMAP, keto, paleo, whatever, is carb rotation. And you have to, and like I say, cycle the calories. So you gradually deplete the macronutrients as you go through the week. And then usually, typically people, because weekends are when you like not overeat, but you socialize. So relaxing things and increasing the calories on a Saturday and Sunday. And then you carb cycle, you deplete the nutrients as you go through the week. And again, going back to that, regardless of what formula that you're following, what diet you choose to follow, at the end of the day, if weight loss is your goal, it doesn't matter what you're following, whether it's high fat, low fat, high carb, low carb, whatever. If you're eating too many calories, doesn't matter what macronutrients they are, if you eat more calories than you expend, then you will gain weight. So there's no, like you say, right formula or wrong formula. It's just that at the end of the day, whatever you're following, if you're still eating too many calories, it's going to lead to weight gain.
And some people do better with carb metabolism than fat metabolism. Some people do better with fat metabolism than carb metabolism. And I'm sure you've heard of people or seen people on social media and, oh, I went onto the keto diet and I lost 100 pounds in 6 months and it's the best thing ever. And then somebody else goes on the keto diet and puts weight on or doesn't lose an ounce. It's because, again, that person probably metabolizes fats very well and they just hit the jackpot. The keto diet is very, very good for some people, again, especially people with blood sugar regulation issues or type 2 diabetics. It can kind of help pull that down. It can be a weight loss diet, but again, it's not really designed to be a weight loss diet. It never was. And like most diets that kind of mess with macronutrient ratios, it's just one of those things that may work for some and not for others. So it's not necessarily the magic elixir. For some it is. And I mean, try it by all means if you think that's going to work for you. Same as veganism, vegetarianism, like I say, paleo. All these things dependent on how your body metabolizes these calories. And some of the other variables, like Karen was saying, I mean, age is huge. The older we get, obviously the less calories we need because metabolically we slow down. The amount of mitochondria in our body reduces, and that's just how we are. So what you could get away with at 20 and what you can get away with at 50 are two different numbers. From energy expenditure, again, from right down to a cellular level. Sex is a lot to do with it. No, not how much you have in, but whether you're a male or a female. Again, because different women have more fat mass than men. Men have more metabolically active tissue, more muscle than women.
Higher levels of testosterone.
So men can get away with burning more calories. So that's just physiology. There's no ifs, buts, or maybes about that. Health, again, if you're a healthy person, that more often than not, you're probably going to have more muscle mass. You metabolically, from a mitochondrial point of view, again, it's going to have a difference that if you're not very healthy, if you're sick, and your body's trying to do other things. So calorically, and again, from a health point of view, you're just not going to be in the same level as someone who is in a healthy position. Like I said in the equations, fat mass fat mass, subcutaneous fat, visceral fat are not metabolically active tissues. So if you're carrying a lot of fat around, yes, you may need a little more energy to carry that fat. I had a client years ago and she was doing step-ups and she was saying, oh my God, these are really hard. Shouldn't I be holding a weight? And she was 300 pounds. And she's just doing a small step up and down. And I said to her, I'd have to have a 120-pound bar on my back to do the same activity that you're doing, to make me the same weight as you. I said, you're working hard, believe me. You're lifting more weight. So yes, there is that element of you need a few more calories, but then again, caloric deficit is what's going to help you lose the weight.
And a lot of the times people see the things like I don't even know if Biggest Loser's still on TV, but the heavier that you are in the onset, then the bigger chance is that you will drop more weight in that first little while than somebody that's got less weight to move and that's less, weighs less than you. So like you said about that 300-pound client, if you were a 300-pound client and like a 180-pound client and you were both doing the same activity at the same energy level and expenditure, then the jury's out on a little bit on this, but studies have shown that if the heavier that you are, then the more calories that you will burn. So again, that's why a lot of the times that people, when they are considerably heavier, and like you say, you mentioned a few minutes ago about some of the before and after keto photos, and people are very, very big, and then they show the after photos or progress photos, and it's because initially you're going to lose more quickly, but then it's all about experimenting as well with those calories, because if you start to plateau, then everything works until it doesn't. So you can't just keep following the same formula, the same calories, the same diet, because if you do find you hit a plateau, you've got to change something to see change. So if it was keto and you had amazing leaps and bounds in the 6 months and then you plateau, we see that a lot on social media. Okay, you've got to revisit what you're doing, because obviously what you're doing now isn't working anymore. So does it mean that you've got to tweak with your macronutrients? Have you got to move more? And as you're just saying, age, sex, there's a gazillion variables.
Oh yeah, and even down to the thyroid. I mean, is your thyroid active? How active is your thyroid? Have you got thyroid problems? We spoke about mitochondria. And I mean, mitochondrial health is something in itself. I mean, there are things you can do to improve your mitochondrial health. And again, mitochondria are these small little engines in the cells, and maybe we should just do a podcast on mitochondria and just kind of cover all that.
That's a big word. I'm going to have to learn to pronounce it properly, I guess.
What podcast?
No, mitochondria.
Oh, there you go. You've cracked it already.
I did it, but if I have to keep repeating it,
You've cracked it already. So, like Karen just alluded to, what do you do if you're not losing weight and you're eating 1,200 calories? Well, my thing would be Monday to Friday, try 1,100 calories and maybe do 12 or 13 on the weekend just as that refeed. See what happens. Play with your macros a little bit. Drop your carbs, up your fat, see how that goes. If that doesn't work well for you, if your energy drops and you feel like crap, then up your carbs and drop your fat. Keep your protein, like we've said, around 30%. And then play with because protein, again, at the end of the day, isn't really an energy source for the body. It can be, but the body's energy sources are fats and carbs. Don't have the protein super low and fats and carbs high, because you're just feeding more energy into the system, which, again, will now make you put weight on because you can't use it all. So play either side with that. If after doing that for a couple of weeks and your weight doesn't shift, try 1,000 calories. And then do the 1,300 refeed on the weekend. See if that works for you. And just keep messing with it. Keep playing with it. Try the refeed of 1 day. Try the refeed of 3 days, depending on what your energy is. Listen to the body. If you're a female, obviously and you're in your cycle, obviously work around your cycle, because you're going to feel probably awful anyway, and you might get those carb cravings. So again, you're going to feel slightly different to what you wouldn't of a normal part of the week, part of your cycle. So again, just take that into consideration. And like Karen says, everything works until it doesn't. So like I say, if you need to work the formulas out, I mean, I'll put a link in the show notes to the Harris-Benedict formula, or you can just visit most fitness websites and it's on there. Do the formula, start from there, and watch your activity level and don't overestimate your calories and exercise.
And I was listening to a podcast from Chris Kresser, or I was reading one of his
Him again?
Yeah, no, reading one of his newsletters. I can't remember what it was. And he actually said that there's no scientific study out there anywhere that says conclusively that whole foods make you sick and fat. There's nothing out there. But he did say on this podcast or email that if you plateau, nothing is working, and this is going to get all the keto diehards like screaming actually at their computer or radio right now. But he says that if you stall and nothing is working, the best formula that he has ever found is the potato diet. And I think we've mentioned about this maybe briefly on a previous podcast, but the potato diet, just look it up online, and it literally is just eating potatoes, like, and nothing else.
Baked potatoes, roast potatoes,
mashed potatoes.
Yeah,
and I'm not going to go into the details of it, but like, we did try it, didn't we?
8 potatoes for a week.
Yeah, and I think I dropped 4 pounds. I don't know what you did, but Chris Kresser says, like, it's a formula that really, really does work. And
I'll put a link to the potato diet in the show notes.
Do it, because and if you could be a diehard keto, whatever, diehard low carb, but at the end of the day, like you say, no whole foods like conspire to make you sick and fat. And if you don't have any metabolic issues, if you're trying to reverse obesity, type 2 diabetes, then it's the sugars and the processed carbs are the demons. But with regard to the potato diet, if you've not any metabolic issues, hey, give it a go.
Demons.
Ooh.
So hopefully, again, we've kind of, if you're struggling to kind of lose weight and you don't know where to start, or you just kind of, you've plateaued or something, just mess with things. Track it on MyFitnessPal. Again, if you need to, or lose it, or whichever app. If you're really struggling, you don't understand why, maybe weigh everything, measure everything. We overestimate sizes of portion sizes and things, and amounts of things, and what you think you're writing 4 ounces in your app and you're eating 6. You put in 1 tablespoon of cream in your coffee and you're putting 5 in there. Again, all these things can matter. You know, you're just, I'm going to have a couple of almonds on the way to work, and you're getting through 2 bags a week. All these things matter. And so, yeah, take a good look at what you're doing. Take a good look at how many calories are going in. And again, if you're still not losing on what that is, mess with the calories, mess with the macros, figure it out.
And don't be scared of making some changes, whatever
scary.
Whatever formula that you're following, like, switch it up, because as we said, when you were talking about running 5K and that's all you ever do, and you get very efficient at running 5K, if you follow the same nutrition formula forever, then your body gets stale, and you need some variety in there. Trust me, your body wants it and needs it. So if you're plateauing and you're not getting anywhere, then try something. And like, if you try it and nothing happens, what have you done? Lost a few weeks?
I'll leave you with some wise words.
What?
If things don't change, they'll stop as they are.
True. That's all we have time for right now, but we do hope that you join us for our next show. And if you want to contribute to an upcoming show by suggesting a topic that you would like us to discuss in more detail, then hop over to our website, healthyhalfhourpodcast.com, subscribe to our podcast and submit your suggestions. The Healthy Half Hour Podcast was brought to you by the 7 Day Shred, and don't forget to share our details with your friends and review our show. Until next time, thanks for listening.